Why don't we rewind one game to Charlotte, the disaster game?
Right.
You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so let's go right to the clip again, right? So second goal, right? So we give up, I just showed you how I thought our intensity actually cost us the goal, right? Let's go to the second goal, right? So now everybody is going to be talking about in this goal, the fact that on the end of the play, Gutman tugs the guy down, right? We get not only a penalty kick, but we get a red card, right? That's terrible.
Yeah.
But we stopped the clip here, which is the very beginning on the highlight package, right? And what I want you to notice, right? So that's Lennon, right? Obviously, right? So what's happened here? He's actually in the front corner. Okay. So he's all the way in Columbus's end, right? Because he was airplaning.
Where he always
right?
is.
Where he always is, right? He was totally airplaning. And he actually is given that look because he slid a challenge, and it was actually a fair challenge.
Yeah.
But he got called for a foul.
Right.
The stupid MLS referee. Yeah. And he was jarring at the ref, right? So he jars at the ref. They go take a free kick from right almost by the corner of their 18, a little bit. It was out wide. It was right in their way far in their own end. Okay. This does not seem, would appear to be the most dangerous situation. We giving them a free kick in their own corner.
Yeah.
Right.
They have a goal kick, basically.
Right. So the problem is he's so much in airplane mode that he's arguing here. And even though they have all the time, they didn't take a quick free kick, right? They put it down. They looked around. The guy was back. They got some players up. He's still standing there. Now stop it. Okay.
Yeah, well, there's 3 people bombing down the left side.
Well, so there's 2 guys right at midfield. So the guy who's going to get on the ball is the guy running, right? But there's 2 guys right at midfield, right? So those 2 players, right? So one of them has to be Lennon's guy, right?
Yeah.
And so Miles Robinson, who's the best one-on-one defender probably in all of MLS, certainly he's the best on our team, right? He's going to get beat in a 1v1 situation here, right? And one of the things you kind of have to wonder is, like, how does the best defender in all of MLS, one-on-one anyway, get beat in a one-on-one situation? And here's why. Because you can see it, maybe he stopped it a few seconds late, but he was actually up 5 yards because he thought they were going to play to those 2 guys.
Yeah.
Right. So he actually has to recover in behind him, and he's 10 yards behind the play because he's covering for our center midfielder who's not there, and Lennon, who had all day to get back after his airplane and is doing nothing. So everybody's going to talk about how he got beat. And then ultimately, if you watch, when we play the clip, Parada comes over and does nothing, right? He gets in no man's land and he doesn't. So there's mistakes. Miles Robinson got beat and people are blaming him.
Yeah.
But he got beat because the guy had a 15-yard head start, right? And then Parada doesn't come over. But nobody is talking about the fact that Lennon was arguing in that front corner while they had a free kick and it left 2 guys in behind him, which caused Miles Robinson to be pinched up because he was worried about it.
Hey, Carmen. My boy's wicked smart.
wicked smart. And
I mean,
so now play the clip and watch how Miles Robinson gets beat because that guy gets to it first and he's behind him, right? He never really gets beat. The guy was just ahead of him. And you can't tell me that guy is faster than Miles Robinson, right? So we now make a great save, right? But you'll see we give it up again and we give up the goal. But so it doesn't matter, right? But my point in this clip is,
that's how all the pressure came our way.
Guys.
Right.
Wow. A great observation too, just in terms of, again, the issue we've known, right? Which is our fullbacks don't play fullback, or at least one of them doesn't. It just seems like such a simple tactical fix. Very tactical direction to say, just stay back 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Pick your moment.
And, you can see it later on. I'll show, you'll talk about, well, okay, but we're getting all these great things from it because he's forward. There is a moment where Araujo tries to play Lennon in, who's out in front of him in his airplane mode. Yeah. and he hits him in the back with a pass.
I remember that.
He literally hit him in the back. If there is not an illustration of what's wrong with the team, when our best guy getting in behind defenders, the fastest guy, is trying to play our wing back, and he hits him in the back.
Yeah, which is I since we designed the entire team around Lennon going up the right side, and Araujo is leaving, and Lennon's taking that space anyway. What are your thoughts? Since we know he's not going to take Lennon out, right? Like he's number one on the roster for Pineda.
Sure.
Ronald Hernandez plays right back, and Lennon just becomes the right forward.
He could
/ winger.
So the thing about it is, and it's actually interesting because a lot of people say, well, it's got to be intensity, right? Because Charlotte in the first game, we killed them at their place. Yeah. Right. And then in that game actually had the same, I think, exact starting lineup as what we had at home, because Papa Giorgio had just come to the team and he didn't start. And he came off the bench.
And was that maybe one of our best games of the season?
Yes, it was by far our best game of the season. We scored 3 quick goals.
We actually played. Not only did we score through, we actually played. Our best game that I saw us play. It was a game where like, okay, I'm not complaining in my own brain as I'm watching this.
I went back to my notes. I said, how is that possible, right? How do we crush them on the road, right, and then get crushed at home? What happened?
What changed? Yeah.
You know what was really interesting? I had all this praise for Pineda in that first game because for the first time all season, both Lennon and Gutman stayed back on the road, and we had all this success, right? In this game, suddenly I was like, it was super airplane, right? And, and I was like losing my mind. I'm like, okay, what's our tactics? Like, so it almost seems like the players must be making the decision on their own because it's one game, it's super airplane. It's mostly been super airplane, but there have been a few games, including this last game against Colorado. People are saying they were airplane. No, if you watched, I was in the stadium watching them. Lennon and Hernandez were back so much of that game compared to what they normally are. And if you notice what happened, who was freed in that game?
You saw Araujo have acres of space and run at people like that looked like deer in the headlights. Like, don't run at me like this.
So
we want Lennon running at us like that.
So here's the thing. So I'm trying to figure out how it is that sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. And what I think that the thing that comes back to is at the beginning of the season, we were playing 3 in the back. We had it overloaded with Robinson coming out right? And then we got off to a good start. You thought he would stick to it, but he didn't. He suddenly started sending Gutman and Lennon all together, and we went right back into the garbage, right? Anyway, my point being that I was trying to figure out what it is that makes that decision. And I don't think it's just players randomly doing it. And I thought, I gave him so much credit at the beginning of the season because I said all last season we said that was the problem. And this season when we came out, we didn't have it. It was only one of the two. We kind of think both should be back, but at least in this case, it was only 1 out of 2. We talked about it a lot, right? And we did really much better than I thought we would because I didn't think that he would realize that was a problem. I didn't think that he would correct it, but he did. He did correct it. He kept Gutman back. And then he had Robinson switching, shifting over, and they kind of had a back 3, and it worked. Mm-hmm. Right. So I was like, oh, good. Not only are we winning, but we're winning for a reason, right? That he actually cured one of our problems. I still thought we were pinching in too much, but he cured one of our problems. And then suddenly we have airplanes again. And I'm like, what? And you know what I think is? I actually think he is looking at the other team and making a decision that today, this is a really effective thing against this team. They're weak there. And in another game, it's not. He's doing it game by game. He's talking to them and they're getting instructions each game. Today you're on an airplane, today, whatever.
Yeah. He's tweaking it on how.
I think he's doing tactics up the wazoo, right?
Okay.
He's just
I think you're
overthinking it.
I would agree.
Because otherwise, how is it that we're suddenly this and that, that would never happen, right?
Yeah.
If you have a player and you gave him free reign, he would do the same thing kind of all the time, right? And suddenly, for example, in this Colorado game, when we were dead terrible. We've been terrible for how many games? We hadn't won. We had won one in the last 8.
Yeah.
And we came out in that game at home against the worst team in the league, because in the West, right? Last place team. And suddenly Lennon and Gutman were not Gutman because of Hernandez.
Yeah.
We're at home. And you might argue, well, Hernandez, maybe he can't go forward. But it was Lennon too. We were 4 in the back almost the entire first half of that game. Yeah. And I was like, what? Because it's Charlotte, when we were absolutely catastrophic and got killed, we had super airplanes. I just showed you one example, right? And I was losing my mind. I'm like, so if we're the better team and we have certain players who are better and we want to take advantage of them, why would we be switching tactics that much from game to game?
Yeah. No, you got the talent to have consistency,
especially at home. Just go beat them.
So,
but I think that was the thing. If you look at Charlotte away versus Charlotte at home, I think Charlotte away, he was worried and he had them back. And then Charlotte at home, he was like, oh, we're at home. We can dominate. We're going to have possession all the time. It's not going to be a problem. We can go or whatever. We got burned.
What else in the Charlotte game, Dave?
What else in the Charlotte game? The last goal. So obviously, let's see.
The last goal, we got one goal in the Charlotte game. It was 3-1.
Yeah, but the third
and it was like the last 10 minutes, like we finally put the gas on right in that game.
Yeah.
Even a man down, like we were actually playing the best we played in that game, a man down.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we went a man down. That's right. Yeah.
And it was almost like Pineda was actually hopeful we're gonna come back in that game. Like, had we gotten the second goal, it was gonna be a chance for a tie.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some opportunities, but it was never gonna happen.
Well, I can tell you, the Benz was not feeling the team it was not.
Yeah. What was the vibe there, Carmen?
It not good. Like in in the section we were in, it was just like everything we did. I mean, people were just reacting negatively because it just seemed like we couldn't really string anything together.
Yeah.
If it did look like we may have had something going, somebody just would make like just a stupid mistake or something like that. But the fans, like, we left early and a lot of people left.
I know.
Early.
I heard a bunch of people say they left an Atlanta United game before the whistle.
Yeah.
And that's like a Cardinal.
And we're the late show too.
So
yeah,
they really rubbed some fans the wrong way at that game.
It was not pretty. It was not pretty.
So I want to, we set up this whole idea that, it's tactics and not players. And I do want to say that it is also players.
Yeah.
Lennon, we just showed in the first goal of this game how I thought Lennon got beat terribly, and it was tactics. And it wasn't lack of urgency or intensity, because it was over intensity or urgency. If you can find the third goal, I know we haven't queued it necessarily up, but and I can talk about it if you just want. But in the third goal, you realize actually that exactly why Lennon is never going to, even when he's back or whatever, is never going to be a great right back. Because on the third goal, he is back the whole entire time, right? And if you just play the clip and watch Lennon the whole time, right? So play it. Just watch Lennon, who gets beat at the far post by Meram. This reminds me in the World Cup. I don't know if you remember the goal, but the U.S. gave up, and you were like, "How does Serginho Dest get beat by an old man?" And this is the same thing. How does Lennon get beat by Justin Meram? Look at this. Watch Lennon. He's there. He's in great position. He knows who he's marking, and look at this. That's just bad soccer. Yeah. That's just a bad player. You cannot blame that on the coach. That's just bad defending.
Yep.
Right now, obviously, you want to block the cross. I think the good coaches get away with it, because if you actually recycle the ball up top, you don't have to defend that way. You can make bad defenders look much better if they don't actually have to defend, right? But the bottom line here is that was absolutely atrocious. An old man, Meram. I mean, he just was, wow. And he was watching him the whole time. Yeah. Lennon knew exactly who he was covering, and he just got beat.
Yeah, he got corncob Lennon,
So I think those three goals tell a huge story. The two I think that really cost us the game early were tactical, right? The first one was because we're stupid pinching in. The second goal because the stupid airplane, right? And the third goal has nothing to do with tactics. It's just, and we were down a man, so maybe you say Lennon's tired or whatever, but it was just really bad defending.
Yeah.
He let Justin Meram, who's like, what, 37 or something?
I don't think he's that old. Yeah.
30, 35. He ain't young,
Yeah.
Justin Meram. Maybe Carmen could look it up for us. How old is Justin Meram? But whoa. So that's what I'll say about that.
So let's move to the Colorado game because we got lots to cover.
Yep.
Colorado game. You were at the game, Dave?
Yes.
Carmen, were you at the game?
I was not. Nope.
You were not.
I also want to say in the Charlotte game, when we were talking about how do you prove that they're airplanes?
Yeah.
Lennon got called for being offside, coming back from an offside position as our right back.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
I mean, that can happen even if there's not airplanes, but it happens a lot when there are airplanes.